My favorite GLB moment was in October. I was preparing for the marathon this year, and to raise money for the Sick Kids Foundation, Great Lakes Brewery threw in $100 for the honor of shaving my head. I liked it so well, I kept it that way.
My favorite Great Lakes moment was probably the nap I took 2 summers ago after having a couple pints of RoboHop during one of the annual barbecues.
Doing a bar crawl down Roncesvalles with a bunch of the guys and ended up at Scott's house while his wife was cooking dinner.
There have been a lot of them, and most of them have involved the fantastic beer and consuming too much of it with the boys.
Having Pete down for Three Amigos charity tournament that we represent for a lot of charities here in Ontario, and him donating beer for a year for the auction prize that all goes towards those charities, being part of that and help sponsor that, and knowing that it's helping the community right around Great Lakes. It's a wonderful thing.
I think that my favorite moment has actually happened to me years ago before we started Muskoka Brewery. I called the Great Lakes Brewery looking for some tanks. They had some tanks outside, and that was my first encounter with Peter Sr. It's an interesting conversation. Needless to say, we didn't get the tanks.
Hit in the pit, locked and loaded, ready to rock, tick-tock, don't stop.
My favorite GLB moment would be today, being down here to actually watch a beer being brewed. I haven't experienced that in my craft beerness.
Seeing a number of brewers that I've known for a number of years, and others I have just met for the first time. But today is a special day, being part of your 30th anniversary.
Lovely new system, lovely people. Great Lakes has been like a brother to Wellington Brewery for the last 30 years.
My favorite was working with Mike and Ian and Jeff, going across Ontario to different wineries and doing the first sort of Ontario lambic style beer. It was a great opportunity to make a beer that we were really happy to showcase to Ontario.
The first time the Great Lakes decided to do the Cascapalooza, and everything was done up in tie-dye and everyone was wearing crazy colors. And then the part that to me stood out was at the end of the night, when normally everyone kind of gets shuffled off and goes their own way. Great Lakes said, every brewer, we got all this beer here, come hang out and let's have a night. And we had such a night.
Back in 2010, we were doing a collaboration beer. Breakfast stout with chocolate, cinnamon, ancho chili, and coffee. The problem is that we learned that day that a cinnamon stick, when it's gorged with wort, is exactly the same diameter as the outflow pipe from the old pilot system. The cinnamon stick flew down there and into the pump, and for the next 3 batches of Project X beer, there was the cinnamon flavor that nobody could diagnose. So I ruined Project X single-handedly for 3 weeks. It was great.
My favorite Great Lakes moments would definitely be the tap takeover we did with Great Lakes in Amsterdam at the original Bar Hop location maybe 2 years ago. It was a huge success. I think the quality of the beer at that event was probably the best lineup of beers we've ever had on at our bar.
Favorite Great Lakes moment is the annual Christmas tap takeover, where Great Lakes comes and takes over all the taps at the pub, gets people lining up about an hour before we open and goes non-stop till we close. It's great for the guests to interact with the Great Lakes folks and have all the tasty treats.
Probably one of the tap takeovers, probably at Loose Moose. It was nice to sample a bunch of new beers from you guys, and obviously nice to see an entire bar there just because Great Lakes was.
We have such a lovely family, in the brewery here at Great Lakes, but amongst our, the brewers around the province, and it's good seeing old faces and inspirations.
I remember when I tried Crazy CANUCK in the old branding style, and then I discovered it again years later with the new branding style, where I discovered the rest of their beers and they all tied in together in that sort of really nice art that I still like.
Favorite GLB moment would be brewing Dimitri Fung. The first time we did it was awesome. I brought some of my staff here at the brewery and had a great time.
When we hit 10 years old, Great Lakes offered to brew a 10th anniversary ale in commemoration of my website. And I was so honored that they offered to do that. So we brewed a Cascadian dark ale. We all came to the brewery and we made the beer together. It was such a great day, and the beer thankfully turned out really well. So it was a great moment to make the beer and celebrate my beer history with my friends at Great Lakes.
My favorite Great Lakes moment has to be when a former employee came up with this strange idea to start a Toronto Beer Week. And here we are 6 years later, still working on making craft beer a thing not only for downtown Toronto, but all across the GTA.
Scene. Oh my gosh.
Okay, George.
Are my nipples showing?
Okay.